a date that will live in infamy. This is what President Roosevelt called the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. This attack famously brought the United States into World War II, but it also sparked a distrust of anyone of Japanese descent. It was this hatred that led to internment camps starting in 1942. These camps created drastic and long-lasting economic damages for not only the internees, but their descendants as well. Executive Order 9066 ordered the rounding up and imprisonment of innocent Japanese Americans. Between the months of February and August, people were forced out of their homes and into assembly centers before being assigned to camps. In this time, about 112 Japanese Americans were interned. They were given only a few days to pack up their belongings and make arrangements for properties and businesses, causing them to lose almost everything they owned in the process. Once the internees got to their assigned camps, they were put into overcrowded and cramped rooms. The barracks were sparsely furnished, with many only having cots and a coal stove. Despite the horrible living conditions, the internees did their best to make the camp feel more like a home. They created churches, schools, sports teams, and farms within the confines of the camp walls. People interned in Tule Lake, California, were the last to be set free in March of 1946. Upon their release, their lives were far from back to normal. We came out of these camps with a sense of shame and guilt of having been considered betrayers of our country, said John Taishi, a leader of the Japanese American Citizens League. Many internees did not move back to where they lived before internment camps. Instead, they chose to stay near where they were interned. Since many of them had lost their property due to internment, there was nothing for them to go back to. Since then, there have been 2 acts of reparation from the government for the internees. The first was the Evacuation Claims Act in 1948. The government set up a system where they would receive claims from internees and pay them back what they felt was due. In the end, they gave out a total of $37 million. This was still a massive $111 million short of what all of the claims had totaled at the beginning. The government, seeing how much still needed to be done, created H.R. 442 and the Civil Liberties Act. This act, signed by President Reagan, gave out $20,000 to any person who had been interned during World War II and offered an official apology for the wrongful imprisonment of Japanese American people. The only issue with the act was that the families of internees, who were just as affected by the camps, were left completely out of the equation. According to a Harvard study, there was a pattern of which families were struggling the most. People interned in camps in richer areas did much better economically upon release than those interned in poorer areas. It didn't just impact their economic status either. These camps affected housing, education, and much more. In 1980, men interned in the camp in the poorest area made 17% less than men coming out of the richest camp. This was still between 9 and 13% less than they should have been making at the time. One of the main reasons for this difference in income was that most people decided to settle near where they were interned upon release. The economic impacts of World War II internment camps were long-lasting and could be seen in the families of internees for generations after the camps were shut down.